Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall.
How you doing? How you living? How you feeling, folks? Back for another episode of City Night Lights. Now, of course, idiot number 0. My name's Zach, and I'm glad to be back talking to you guys. Doing a little bit of Mets talk today. Gotta enjoy it. Been a week since the last time we chatted about the Mets, so we'll just get right into it. They over the last week we played a series against the Yankees, the Red Sox, and most recently the Dodgers. Now, unfortunately, the Yankees and Red Sox series didn't go all too well as the Mets lost both of them in a 2-1 series split, where they were actually able to take two out of 3 against the Dodgers, so that was pretty nice. So at least we ended off the week strong, got a nice series win against a good opponent, and that's really super important. Now, some of the Yankees games, I watched them. I caught a ton of shit from all my Yankee friends, but what are you gonna do? I think the Mets will play just some better baseball come around next series. This first series didn't look great. Soto's still not in full swing. He had a great first game, 3 walks, a steal, but the other 2 games it didn't look all too great. It just wasn't fully there, and I think Soto's still getting kind of acclimated. Has some unlucky baseball. He's getting some good contact, just things aren't falling. Doesn't really have much working for him right now, so I hope that sooner than later we can get, more than a max level player, Max Kepler level player there. So, awesome. Love spam phone calls. So, I have a lot of faith in Juan Soto. I think he'll get back in the horse. It's just a matter of when, not if. And then we went out, played Boston. The Boston series was not great. We really didn't look super good until the last game, which ended up being really a bullpen game. But better to turn around at some point than never, So at least they were able to take one in Boston, but those games looked like a mess. Oh, what are you gonna do? But Crochet just had us in the blender too. That was another thing. All right, so talked a little bit about that. And, I'm glad the Mets were able to do what they did. Did we stop recording? I have no idea where we stopped at. Fuck. But outside of that, the Mets move on to play some easier opponents in the coming week, so that's going to be a good thing, and we'll kind of talk about that soon. But let's talk about the players a little bit, exactly who looked great over the last week, who's been struggling a little bit. And, we just mentioned Soto. I'm still not worried about him. He'll hop back on the horse eventually. Brett Baty, though, he's been an awesome surprise this last week. I believe he has 3 home runs. He's batting like .350. He's looked awesome in the field, so I'm glad we finally have one of the rooks really kind of getting going outside of Acuna Jr., so that's really nice to see. Glad he's doing great. Vientos, our other third baseman, he's still been struggling a little bit. Now, that's someone I kind of expect to see kick it into gear as this season moves along. I know he had a great 2024, but I think he'll be fine this upcoming season. I think he'll be able to really move things along and get it going. So, with that being said, let's see who else. Pete Alonso, he finally hits a home run, breaking the longest home run hitless streak he's had in his career. So that was nice. They had a home run last night against the Dodgers. But otherwise, Marte had a good week last week. But otherwise, everyone's been kind of cold the last 2 weeks. We haven't been playing our best baseball. So I'm really excited for these next couple of games. These next 2 series specifically, I think are going to be awesome for the Mets because we'll get right into, the schedule. We have the White Sox, the Rockies, and then we're playing the Dodgers again. So between the White Sox and the Rockies, these are, I think, 2 opponents where we could really take advantage of the time we have here, and hopefully we could see the Mets, actually decide, hey, we're going to score a ton of runs. We're all going to look great. Like, I would love to see Soto maybe have like a 3-4 RBI game. Maybe we can get Pete to get another couple home runs, really start to warm up again a little bit. Get Vientos back in the mix. Let's get the boys hitting. Maybe we see something out of at a Francisco Alvarez. I would like to see some of the bats a moving and a grooving. So, like, it'd be pretty cool to see them have a double-digit run game. That they haven't had many, if any, this year, I think. Let me quickly check on that. I don't think they've scored 10 runs once this season. Oh, nope, we scored 19 against the Nationals. We scored 10 against Miami. Okay, we scored 10 against Miami twice and 19 against the Nationals once. But still, I think this is another good series, another 2 good series to really do that, take advantage of these games. Kind of just use them as get-right games, or get-right series. I think we should be able to handle these no problem. The White Sox, consistently terrible team. And somehow the Rockies somehow on pace to be worse than the White Sox last year, who's had, they have the worst, that team had the worst record in modern era baseball of all time. I mean, they were rivaling the 62 Mets for a long time, and then they ended up beating them. So glad to say the 62 Mets are no longer the worst team of all time in the modern baseball era. But sorry for getting off track a little bit. But yeah, I think these are going to be potentially huge run games. They could have a very positive effect on the team, and that's going to be big before we go back out to, back to the Dodgers. I think they're actually going to come, or I think we're going to them that series. I'm not sure, because it was weird. We were home for this last Dodger series. Okay, we're away for the next Dodger series. Then we go back and play Colorado afterwards. So that'll be good. Good couple games. We got to take care of business, get this done. As long as we're winning series, there's nothing better than that, because you're, moving forward in a good way. Now, with that being said, let's see. I forgot to mention last week that Jesse Winker still has another 4 to 6 weeks with the oblique strain. Hopefully we see him back soon. Otherwise, tonight's game, we're playing the White Sox at home. It's going to be Adrian Hauser versus Clay Holmes. So that'll be good. Hopefully Clay Holmes is able to dominate. I would love to see him go 7 innings tonight. That'd be really, really cool if he went 7. Just because, it'd be nice to save the bullpen a little bit. You guys feel me, you get it. Oh, it looks like Montas makes his first rehab start with High A Brooklyn. That's awesome. Glad to see that. Any other random things? Senga had a nice outing last night against the Dodgers after his first inning home run against Shohei. Let's see. No, it looks like that's about it. So, good to see that. Nimmo's been added. He's day to day. I'm not super duper worried about that. He'll be back relatively soon. But yeah, hopefully we see Drew Smith. Maybe Drew Smith does not expect to pitch this year. That is not awesome. Okay, well, yeah, I guess that's all I had for you guys for this week. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the Mets. Glad you guys came out and listened. And with that being said, I really appreciate you guys coming out listening. Thank you, and stay idiotic. See you guys later.